So that's it then, folks. That's the last from me. All I can say is that it always has been a pleasure, and I hope you will enjoy Grand Prix racing from now on. Goodbye.
You're the top. You're a new invention. You're the top.
Well, hello and welcome to the Frozen South.
Dimension.
You're the green and gold and the mauve of the old school tie. You're the Brothers Western, you're Harry Preston, you're Gus Dubai.
Go, go, go! Lovely start by Schumacher.
You've got an enormous bump on your head. Can you let them see it?
I don't know there. There you go.
Right up there. Oh, I'm sorry.
Where there's not a gangster.
I'm a frog without a log on which to hop.
Well, baby, I'm on your top.
Wow, wow!
Before we commence the coverage of tonight's proceedings, we take a moment to remember Murray Walker. The legendary commentator brought character, exhilaration and emotion to Formula One broadcasting, bringing the motorsport world to the masses. Our thoughts are with Murray's family, friends and those that were close with him. From everyone at eSport Designs, from the drivers, Steve Hinden and the broadcast team here at SimSport Solutions, thank you, Murray, for making us all fall in love with motorsport, one Murrayism at a time. The forever voice of Formula One, Murray Walker. And just like that, it's the penultimate race of the season here at the eSport Designs Porsche Cayman Cup. From Johannesburg, we fly north on the Meridian to Norfolk and the 4.779 kilometre Snetterton 300 circuit. Talk from series organiser Steve Hinden at the previous race at Kyalami suggested that the party might continue beyond this season here. But the party tonight might start with Luca Burke, 3 wins in 3 races. He has one hand on the trophy, but with Jenson Button and Al Buncombe closing in behind, we could see the championship fight go all the way down to the wire. A very healthy lead indeed, 42 points. And in the commentary box with me this evening to describe the action and what could be the championship decider, I'd like to introduce David Wrestle. And David, we've mentioned countless times in this season that with only 5 races, every event is important. And tonight's event at Snetterton not only could set us up for the finale at Donington, but could decide the title right here.
Absolutely. I'm sure you've gone through all your permutations of your abacus, Tim, and good evening, everyone. Hope you're all well on this Monday evening, and a lovely tribute by everyone there from Murray Walker. I think that was fantastic. Love the little video, and your little comments there were fantastic as well, Tim. But yeah, it is one of those, like I say, a 5-race championship. Jenson Button's going to be ruining the fact that he missed the first round all the way back at Imola 3 or 4 weeks ago, but still plenty of a chance for him to actually get back into the swing of things. Of course, he's only 42 points behind, like you say, 27 points if you get the win, the fastest lap and pole position. So it's definitely doable, Tim.
And as we look forward to the event this evening, let's ride on board a hot lap with our series organiser, Steve Hinden. A fantastic lap here at the Snetterton 300 circuit. A tricky final corner into Murray's, the left-hander, and then plant the throttle and head along this long straight, the Senna straight, aptly named, across the start-finish line to start what will be a near 2-minute lap, heading towards turn 1 at Riches. Brake at about the 50-metre board. A couple of shifts down, 4th gear here through the right-hander that seems to go on forever, but run out to the left and you'll find yourself in the farmer's fields. Then drop the anchor here into the Wilson hairpin all the way down the gearbox into second, and be careful in this tricky traction zone before we head into what is the technical part of the circuit. Into Palmer, this left-hander again that seems to continue forever. Plenty of curb on the right-hand side, but don't invalidate your lap time in quali there. And David, this is where the lap really gets tricky, because into Agostini and then the following left, right at Hamilton, Oggies and Williams and onto the back straight. It's all about nailing those apexes.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to take as much speed as you can through this infield section, don't you? And although it's flat, it's not necessarily the easiest set of corners to judge as it goes through Hamilton down towards Oggies. And this is really where, like you say, Tim, you're going to be winding that lap up. You want to try and get a good exit out of here, get on the power nice and early. You're going to drop it back down a little bit for through Williams and onto the Bentley Straight, and the start of what is, I'm sure what most people are thinking, Tim, a slightly difficult to handle final section here at Snetterton, isn't it?
One of the trickiest corners indeed, but an overtaking opportunity if you're brave through the left-hander at Brundle, braking and turning and trying to go down the gearbox, get the car stopped with the right-hander at Nelson before the track opens up and then closes up again through the bomb hole. This circuit obviously a former RAF field, and that corner there actually a crater left by an exploded military device. Then through the right-hander here at Corham, the corner that does go on forever, and get the car stopped for Murray's a tricky turn to end the lap. And if you've got that all right, if you've got every single one of those corners, David, you're coming up towards the start-finish line to set what hopefully has been a clean lap.
Yeah, absolutely. We've obviously got the guys in practice at the moment, and if you do want to follow the timings, then you want to head over to pitwall.live and you can see exactly how everyone's getting on. I can see Jenson Button top of the timing sheets as practice is just ticking over into the qualifying session for this race number 4. Currently sitting on a 1:55.5, so I'm sure we'll see that drop a little bit over the next 20 minutes or so as you go into qualifying. But it is one of those classic English tracks, isn't it? It's a lower grade circuit. There's not as much in terms of runoff, and it is one of those that is going to contribute, I think, this evening to some absolutely brilliant racing. So we're going to have that 60-minute race as always, and it's going to be full of content for us and our cameraman Steve Proudley to keep us abreast of, I think.
And if the races at Imola, Nürburgring and Kyalami last week have been anything to go by and any sort of suggestion as to how the race might unfold this evening at Snetterton, it's going to be packed with drama from the drop of the green flag in our 15-minute qualifying session that will get underway shortly, and then all the way through the flag to flag 60-minute sprint race. But David, we say it's a sprint race, but we've heard from a lot of the drivers post-race that they struggle with tyres towards the end of that 60-minute affair. We also know that some of them have had questionable pressures, suffered from punctures, or maybe just had to look at the fuel meter and lift off the gas a little bit early. 60 minutes, it might sound like a short time in the grand scheme of things, but it's plenty of time to make a crucial error or indeed find yourself fighting up through the field.
Yeah, absolutely, Tim. We've obviously seen action pretty much from minute 1 to minute 59 in all of the 3 races we've had so far, and this is definitely not going to be any different. And yeah, talk about tyre pressures. Of course, British tracks, they can have the lethal curves that we know and love, and you can see some of the sausage curves as you go around some of the corners on the presentation and the slides in the background. And it's definitely one of those that you're not going to win your race in the first corner, especially with a fast corner like Rich's in the first couple of laps. It's going to be a case of you just need to find a bit of rhythm. It is going to be a war of attrition, so it's going to take a bit of time for everyone to probably get into their groove. But yeah, we're going to see a fantastic race, and I, for one, am certainly looking forward to it.
And if we cast our mind back to those previous 3 rounds, we're now over the hump. We're into the finishing straight here in this inaugural season of the Esport Designs Porsche Cayman Cup. The last time out, Luca Burke, he didn't have it all his own way, did he? Knocked off pole position by Jenson Button and hassled all the way throughout the race. The tide's definitely turned, doesn't it, David?
Yeah, absolutely, Tim. And as you see, we go to qualifying as we speak. We've got just over 13 minutes left, so we'll start to see some times go onto the board at the moment. And yeah, the aforementioned Luca Burke on camera at the moment. It's, first race, he was fairly comfortable. He had about a 5-second gap, if I recall, back to Noel Brinkman and Rumley Jensen, who eventually finished on the podium for the Pole Simsport team. But Jenson Button obviously came back from the Nürburgring. He got a little bit closer. He didn't necessarily put him under too much pressure at the Nürburgring, but enough to kind of give him a bit of a heads up. Look, I'm here. It's not going to go all your way for the next 5 weeks. And last week was something special, wasn't it? I mean, obviously Jenson got pole position. It looked like he had it nailed on, and then a couple of mistakes gifted Luca the position. And then no matter what Jenson tried to do, he just couldn't find a way past, could he?
No, and that's it was surprising, really. We did see some rather aggressive lunges down into turn 1 at Crowthorne at Kyalami, and I wonder whether we're gonna see that all-in attitude from Jenson Button this evening, because looking at the permutations, yes, I have had my calculator out. I've got lots of screwed up bits of paper around my feet where I've got the maths wrong, but Jenson Button pretty much needs to get on the podium if he wants to stand a chance of taking the fight to the final race at Donington Park. and Steve Hindon here, organiser of the Esport Designs Cayman Cup, and of course the mastermind behind the majority of the liveries as well on the grid. He'll be enjoying his time out at Snetterton, hopefully, coming off the back of a first finish after a drive-through dropped him out of the points and then a disconnect at Nürburgring. He finished rather nicely in 11th place, and he was locked in that battle just between what was pretty much position 7 to position 15 were all together on track, as we see him go through Hamilton and into Oggies, first driver on a flying lap, making contact with that tyre barrier on the inside, so that might have cost him some time or handed him a little bit of damage to the front of his Cayman GT4. And on the back stretch down towards Brundle and Nelson, we're going to see a benchmark time, I think, from Hindon, but with plenty of the other drivers on their first laps. It's going to be interesting to see where he falls. And Steve's been unlucky, hasn't he, David? We have seen him battling in the points, and he has been there pretty consistently, but it all seems to be that it's misfortune that has seen him finish outside the points.
Absolutely, Tim. Yeah, he's been more than quick enough to get some points-paying positions over the last couple of weeks. It's just unfortunate that his the series that he has designed has made it so that the top 10 get points-paying positions of F1 style, if you will. But yeah, if you look back to Imola, he was very much in the points. He got that unfortunate drive-through, which we'll continue to remind him about over the next few weeks, I've no doubt. And then, yeah, you go back to the Nürburgring, like you say, he was running in the points, then got disconnected. And then last week, I think he was running in the points again. And then I think it was a coming together with David Bellinger, if I remember it was, going into Sunset at Kyle Army. That kind of just, well, I don't know how much damage it gave him, but it definitely impacted negatively on his race. So hopefully he'll be hoping that he can stay out of trouble in the first couple of laps, get himself into a good rhythm. He's clearly quick round here. And yes, if he can get himself some very elusive, well-deserved points.
Yeah, that first time from Hindon, swiftly beaten by 5 drivers now, as Ross McGregor sets the benchmark of 1:55.893. The now championship leader on screen at the moment. Luca Burke goes up to second place with a time less than 0.03 of a second off the provisional pole position. And as we're talking about Hindon, he's improving on his time and nearly a second up, we're hearing, as he comes through Oggies and through onto the Bentley straight. Alex Buncombe now establishing himself as the pace setter with a 1:55.2. And in qualifying, David, we've seen how close the times can be, separated by, I reckon, I'll get this stat for you for the next round, but a matter of tenths if you add up all of the differences together.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been really, really close. Oh, Steve going a little bit out of shape through Brundle into Nelson. You see just how important and how difficult that braking zone is going to be. And Jenson Button is one of those. Of course, we've seen how close he's been. Obviously got pole position last time out, like we said. That's going to be very important to him in this race. It is points on the board. If I'm not mistaken, Tim, if your calculations you've mentioned to me are correct, I think it's a 16-point gap he needs over Luca Burke to take the championship to Donington next week. And of course, Al Buncombe, 17-point gap, and he can be in with a shout as well. So it's definitely not all over. I did see that in the practice session just before, Luca was slightly off the pace compared to them, but we did say that last week at Kyle Army, and he came out, I think it was within a tenth of a second away from Button, who was on pole. So it's definitely not over, but if there's anyone who's going to give you a good chance and a good bit of competition, it's going to be a former Formula 1 world champion, isn't it?
Yeah, never bash the Burke, they're starting to say around the paddock, I suppose, after you never count him out for pulling something out of those rather large sleeves he suggested last time as well to get himself up the order. Ross McGregor going within 0.07 of a second now of Buncombe's pole time. He improved to shift himself back up to the second row of the grid. Jenson Button here on his first lap, the man best placed to stop Burke lifting the championship trophy tonight, rounds the final corner at Murray's to set his first lap time with 8 minutes to go in this qualifying session. Alex Buncombe just down the road behind, a bit too far back to be picking up a toe. Actually, Button's now setting a lap time, so I wonder whether that previous lap was invalidated. It's showing on our timing screen, but I'm pretty sure that is invalidated, seeing as he hasn't moved on the left-hand side on the timing tower. But a 1:55.56, his previous lap, would have put him fourth. So Button does have the pace to be right up there, and crucially, that lap would have put him in front of Burke. So championship implications playing out. Jack Noller on your screen at the moment. We were impressed by him last time, weren't we, David? You know, he was strong, 5th place in qualifying, and he was up there, but unfortunate to be involved in incidents in his maiden appearance in this championship.
Yeah, absolutely, Tim. He's replaced Cat Impey, if my memory serves me correctly, and he certainly did a fantastic job last week. He was unfortunate not to get too many points, but he did the MSL guys proud. I had a quick chat with him on social media a day or so after the race, and they were very impressed with how he got on, especially considering he was very late to the party, as it were. So yeah, he's done a fantastic job to get that car as high up in the grid as it has been, because these Porsche Caymans, they can be a bit of a handful. If you're not even wholly comfortable with the setup that you've got on it, it can be a massive detriment on the times that you put in. But he certainly got himself stuck into it, and at the moment he's doing a fantastic job. Currently sitting, 8/10 off the absolute pole time at the moment, set by Al Buncombe, and still definitely within a chance of getting into the top 5 or 6 for this evening.
Regan Mitchell then rounding the final corner at Murray's, one of only 4 drivers to score points in every round, and if I think about it, it might be only 3 drivers who have done that. But Regan Mitchell, 3/10 up on his time, crosses the line and he stays 8th, but that's a strong, and that would be his best qualifying performance so far this season. So looking like he's getting it together for this penultimate round at Snetterton. Button staying over to the wall and he goes fastest.
Oh.
Wow, a 1 minute 55.176 sees him take to the top of the standings. 1,000th off the 10th faster than Alex Buncombe, so the margins are still tight as Gabriel Lafreniere in the EGT Challenge number 16 goes across the line and he stays 17th. Ross McGregor here, currently 3rd. He's a 10th up, and this could put him onto the first row, knock Al Buncombe, and really cause a little bit of a headache in between those Rocket Esports guys who currently lock out the front row.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, the Zancha and the Rocket guys do have a very good relationship, but I don't think they'll want to have one of them in form of Ross McGregor sat in between them, because they know he's a quick guy. And there's a few of them in that top 10 at the moment who have definitely got a chance of getting a pole position if they can hook a lap together. Of course, Snetterton being one of those tracks where there's plenty of areas, Tim, where you can make mistakes, isn't there? If you see him getting a huge amount of sausage curb going through the final corner and onto the centre straight, so we'll see what his time's going to be as he crosses the line. I don't know whether he's lost any of that 10th he did gain. We'll see as he crosses the line. And the second did look like he lost a bit. Maybe he invalidated his lap at some point. Luca Burke currently 3 or 4 tenths up at the moment as he goes through the bomb hole towards the back end of the track. Such an interesting layout, isn't it, Tim? You've got that real tight section. Of course, I think it's 3 layouts at Snetterton. You've got the 100, the 200, and the 300 that we're at this evening. So there's plenty of different ways around it. But it's such an interesting and difficult and technical track, isn't it? You've got so many different types of corners and things like that. But Luca Burke's going to cross the line and he's going to put in a very decent time. Puts him 4th at the moment, so he's still a couple of tenths off, but still 4 minutes left. Still plenty of time for him to get a better time on the board, I think.
Well, 3 tenths to Luca Burke will seem like a lifetime round this Snetterton 300 circuit. Daniel Wood here in the podium, Sim Racing number 29, a second up on his time. So that could see him move up to 15th, maybe knock Tim Weller off of 15th position. So we'll stay with Daniel Woods as he comes through the bomb hole, this old part of the track, like you mentioned, David. Formerly an airfield, this circuit uses some of the perimeter roads around the former RAF base, and that 300 infield section added in 2015, I believe it was complete. So actually completed in 2011. So yeah, it's been around for a little while, but still no less of a challenge as Wood crosses the line to improve and goes to 16th position. So hoists himself up a handful of positions. Jack McIntyre here, 3 tenths up on his time. He's looking pretty strong in this number 4 Porsche Motorsport car. Obviously his first appearance in the series this evening. On the run down through Brundle to Nelson, he looks like he's got the car stopped pretty well, and in front, I believe that was Jenson Button. Oh no, Alex Buncombe actually struggling to keep all 4 wheels on the grey stuff through the technical right-hander at Nelson, but through Coram. Looking pretty stable, and that's one of those corners where the car can really wash out. 4 tenths up on his time, David. We could see him jump well inside the top 10. McIntyre then heading towards the line, 5 tenths in hand. So he crosses the line to go 7th. Yeah, well inside the top 10. There's a few cars stopped on the exit of pit lane. At the moment, Sarah Moore, Brit Car champion in 2018 and current W Series driver. She struggled to be competitive in the season so far, but looking to learn at every single race, and has definitely been improving over the last couple of rounds. Was unfortunate to be involved in a first lap melee the opening round at Imola, and she has struggled to find the pace to see a challenge towards the points, but hopefully that can change this evening at a circuit she knows well here at Snetterton. Braking into Murray's, understeering out actually all over the curb, so fingers crossed her lap time wasn't invalidated as the 26 Topwith Motorsport car heads towards the line, and she sets her time. She stays 20th, so an improvement there, I believe, but still in 20th position. Unable to beat Mark Gradenbury here in the 750 Dunn Motorsports Cayman. He's heading towards the line, currently in 19th position as we head into the final minute of this qualifying session. But at the moment, it looks like, David, that Buncombe hasn't quite got enough to match Button.
Absolutely, yeah. You can see all of the top 8 are out at the moment. So the only 2 of the top 10 who currently aren't going to be setting a lap time are going to be David Bellinger and Steve Hinden, who are currently sitting 9th and 10th. But Tim Weller a few tenths up at the moment, so that's going to give him a chance of shifting himself a little bit further up the standings. He's currently sitting in 15th, just over a second and a half off the current pole time of Jenson Button. If he can get a couple of tenths, so that's going to put him just on the outer regions of the top 10. And obviously, like we said, Tim, because it's those F1 style points, that top 10 position is the elusive one. And if he can get nearer there qualifying, you've got that 60-minute race, of course, plenty of time for things to shake out and change. But getting towards the top 10, if not in it in the qualifying session, can be a really big step towards getting some much-needed points for everyone this evening, can't it? Yeah, it's half the battle. We heard from Oscar Sandberg. He was saying it's half the battle. Last time out at Kyalami, Tim Weller now 2 tenths up, and he does improve to jump up to 14th. And here is the man I was talking about, podium finisher at Kyalami, 2 tenths up on his time. That could see him jump up a couple of positions. So let's see how the Turn 1 Esports driver manages. The checkered flag is out. Alex Buncombe's in the pit lane, so he'll be starting at best second for this penultimate round of the Esports Designs Cayman Cup. Sandberg lost the time. He pulled over to the left-hand side and aborted his lap. Meanwhile, John Clements, one of our top 10 finishers, last time out, finished 6th at Kyalami, qualified 7th, and with 6 tenths in hand, we could see him inside the top 10 again, heading down the Bentley Straight on this final lap. It's all or nothing through this final sector into Brundle and Nelson. Can he get the car stopped nicely, turning and braking through Brundle, then get the car over to the left and chuck it over to the right, all over the curb, and that could be the time lost. Let's see as Clements comes through the bomb hole again in this final sector, staying off the curbs on the left-hand side as he comes through Coram. The corner seems to go on forever and seems like it's just going to keep turning right, but he gets the car slowed down for Murray's, uses all of the curb on the inside, all of the curb on the outside, with Luca Burke behind, I believe, looking like he's improving. Actually, it's Yannick Vallenduc further back, but Burke is improving. Clements crosses the line to go 13th. And here it is, your championship leader, Traffic. Traffic, that's Nathan Gibson, held up big time by this Podium Sim Racing driver on the exit of Murray's, and that could be pole position gone. Luca Burke's advantage lost at the final corner at Murray's, and he's going to be starting this race from 4th position. But David, the headline is Button pole, Buncombe 2nd, Burke left to do the work in 4th. Absolutely, but we have to remember, Tim, that 4th isn't going to be good enough for Jenson Button to take the round back to Donington next week. It's going to need a 16-point swing. Even if Jenson gets the fastest lap, he's already got the point for pole position. So if he does get the win tonight, that would be a 26-point haul. If he gets the fastest lap, of course, he gets an extra point and he'll get 27. That's only 15 points because 4th position is going to get Luca Burke 12 points. And we know what Luca Burke is like. He's very, very quick and he's very, very good. So it's by no means, that's probably the simplest way you could put it, isn't it? But it's definitely still chance. If Luca gets a poor start, he's obviously got Oscar Sandberg, Rimle Jensen behind him, who we know are fierce competitors and are definitely going to provide some confrontation behind him, shall we say. But he's going to have to try and keep it clean. I think he's not necessarily, if I was in his shoes anyway, I wouldn't necessarily be thinking I need to get up to the front and challenge Jensen. I just need to try and get this car home in a respectable position and try and avoid being knocked out of the points altogether, because now he's a little bit further back. He is going to be in that kind of concertina effect as they go into the first couple of corners.
Looking at who's around Burke on the grid, like you mentioned, Ross McGregor in third. He currently sits 7th in the championship. Then we've got Oscar Sandberg will start directly, alongside Luca Burke. The number 120 Turn 1 Esports driver, finished on the podium last time out. He is up to 6th in the championship, courtesy of that strong finish. And then behind Sandberg, you've got Rumley Jensen, the number 2 Pulse Simsport driver, podium in the opening round at Imola. And off the back of a 5th place finish at Kyalami, 4th in the championship. So drivers who are up there in the point are around Burke and will be causing him all kinds of headaches into this penultimate round. As we take a look on the grid, this is a fantastic shot from Steve Proudley, who's out there on a Segway rolling down the middle of the 2 rows of cars. Jensen, Button, Buncombe, McGregor, Burke, Sandberg, Jensen, Noller, McIntyre on the right. Then it's David Belanger again getting himself inside the top 10, with Steve Hinden rounding out those top 10 position. Regan Mitchell on your left, and then Charles Solberg on the right in 12th position. Dean Allen 13th will line up alongside teammate John Clements to the Podium Sim Racing team, with the third of those Podium Sim Racing cars, Tim Weller, in 15th. Yannick Valenduk for Sim Racing Hub International will line up 16th, with Daniel Woods 17th alongside Gabriel Lafreniere in the EGT Challenge car. Then it's Nathan Gibson, who we saw causing Burke all kinds of trouble on that final lap, with Mark Raddenbury, Sarah Moore, Charlie Martin and Denise Pope rounding out your grid for this evening's 60-minute race. And as we roll away to get things started, David, where are you going to be looking, and how much of a headache is this maths going to be causing us for the next hour?
I'm just going to have to think of 16 points. That's all I can think of in my head at the moment. 17 if we want to count Alex Buncombe, which of course is not beyond the realms of possibility. If Luca gets involved in any sort of contact whatsoever, that's potentially everyone's chance to get back involved. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Tim, they are the only 2 who can catch him. I think Rumley Jensen could, in theory, finish level on points with him if he won the next 2 races. But then I would imagine we would go to a count back. And of course, with Luca having won the first 3 races, it makes him impossible to catch on that basis. So it really is the 2 Rocket Esport drivers who are currently sitting in the best possible position with the chance of hauling that man down. And yeah, if he falls any further down than he is, it goes to the round next week, assuming the top 2 stay as they are. So put it this way, I could probably do with an extra set of eyes, if I really could, to keep an eye on everything that's going to happen over the next 60 minutes.
And to really throw the cat amongst the pigeons, the 2 drivers who are best placed to knock Burke from the championship lead, and indeed the only 2 drivers, as you mentioned, David, that can stop him from lifting the inaugural eSport Designs Cayman Cup, they're teammates. And you wonder what kind of conversations will be going on. At the Nürburgring race 2 weeks ago, Buncombe let Button go to enable Jensen a best attempt at catching Burke. So these guys do chat to each other during the race. They are aware of what the other's doing. And I wonder if there might be some gamesmanship this evening. But are they going to have their own championship thoughts on the line?
Well, absolutely. I mean, what are they going to do? Did you see one of the Pole Simsport drivers, I think it was Rumley Jensen, off on the grass then for some reason. I'm not entirely sure what sort of warm-up process that was he was going for. But yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what they do. Are they going to both try and work together, try and disappear off at the front, see if Ross McGregor is going to tag along behind them as well? Presumably, if that's the case, then Luca Burke, you would imagine, is quick enough to go with them as well. Or do they try and do that, like you said, that gamesmanship style move where they kind of just work together and almost back the pack up and see if, that, like you say, the likes of Oscar Sandberg, Rumley Jensen, Jack Noller and co can have a chance of getting past Luca? And because that's realistically what they have to do, isn't it? They have to get Luca Burke lower than 4th place. That is their absolute minimum thing they have to do, but it's very difficult to do that when you're not the man driving yourself. So it'd be very interesting to see how if they have a plan, of course. I'm only speculating, but if they do have one, I'm very keen to see how that's going to play out.
And as the two white and yellow Rocket Esports drivers take up their front row starting positions, so Zancho backed racing 1, 2, 3, 4 on the grid, and Burke is looking very eager to get racing. It's Button on the left-hand side of your screen, Buncombe on the right, as they come towards the start-finish line to collect the green flag for the penultimate round of the Esport-designed Cayman Cup. The drivers orderly fashion get into the line on left or the right of the track, and as we expect to see the green flag wave any second, it's go, go, go here at Snetterton, and the Rocket Esports Caymans lead off the line. They're side by side. Buncombe looks to get the jump on his teammate and swoop round the outside at Riches. Can he get it done? He is still alongside Jenson Button, almost a hip check as we see Burke off in the grass behind, down towards Wilson at the hairpin. And Button looks to be fighting back on the inside. There, Burke in fifth. As we see, I think that's Hindon turned round, one of the SimSport racing cars, potentially Regan Mitchell off into the barrier at the hairpin. And there's also a Podium Sim racing machine turned at the second corner. But it looked like Jenson Button was able to fight back into turn one. But crucially, as we see one of the Pulse SimSport cars making contact and takes out Buncombe as they head into the left-hander there at Agostini. It's all gone head over heels for Buncombe. I can't quite work out who that was. That potentially was Jensen making contact. As the timing screens adjust, I'm sure we'll bring you that information. But David, absolute drama there at Agostini.
Oh, goodness me. I mean, there was action all the way through that, wasn't there? Like you say, going into Montreal, we obviously had a couple of cars collected. Unfortunately, Steve caught up in that. Jenson Button now a little bit further in front. I think that's Ross McGregor behind him. I can't actually, Tim, see where Luca Burke is. I wonder if he got caught up in that as well. But Al Buncombe was really the sore loser out of that one, wasn't he? He just got absolutely pinned on the left-hand side, on the left-hand side, going through the hairpin. And
Burke's dropping down. So it looked like the contact was between one of the Pulse cars and the back of Luca Burke, which then sent the Pulse SimSport car across the grass and into Alex Buncombe. But Jenson Button stretching his away at the front there, now 1.2 second gap. It's gone from bad to worse from Buncombe, hasn't it, David? Sorry to interrupt you there.
No, not a problem, my buddy. It's absolutely fine. When these sorts of things happen, we need to make sure we capture everything possible. And yeah, Luca Burke currently sitting in 20th place. Now, barring, I mean, we know he's capable of it. That's going to be very difficult for him to get a points-paying position back. I mean, I would imagine, and assuming that Jenson Button does come through to win this race, that does look like we're going to be bringing it to next week at Donington, which is fantastic for all of us involved, of course. But still 57.5 minutes to go. So Luca Burke, we know he's capable of some incredible stuff. He's really got to put a charge on now, hasn't he?
Well, 57.5 minutes to go. I look down to my left-hand side and to my very shoddy maths. Luca Burke finishing outside of the points. Jenson Button needs third place plus a pole position or fastest lap or better. So at minimum now, Button needs to finish on the podium to take it to the final round at Donington Park. But the real beneficiaries of that opening lap calamity being Oscar Sandberg now in third, Jack McIntyre up to fourth, David Belanger making a brilliant start to get up to fifth place. That would be his best finish if he can hold on. As we see Truls Solberg going very deep into Oggies. I'm amazed he managed to get that stopped even just 2-3 cars width into the grass. Very well held from him. The Turn 1 Esports driver unable to pass Clements. So we cut back to Charlie Martin down in 15th at the moment, but looking in fine control. But here's Burke all the way down in 18th and a very sizable ladder to climb with Regan Mitchell ahead, and he's being challenged by Jensen getting through. So the driver who hit him is now through. With that Pulse SimSport car in front, Burke is not going to have an easy time fighting through the orders. We see, I believe that was Martin off and then rejoining. And David, last time out at Kyalami, we saw this absolute train of cars form from position 7 down to positions 15 or so as Burke does make the move on Jensen and gets the position back. As there's Charlie Martin off to the right-hand side, does a very good job of holding on to that one to avoid collision with the championship leader. But as I was saying, we saw this train of cars form and they were locked in ferocious battle. It's not going to be easy for Burke to be making up those positions.
No, absolutely. And he's not exactly got the easiest people to get past as well. It's not as if the whole grid is it's not as if we're running a reverse grid and he's coming from the back. He has been taken, I wouldn't say he's been taken out, he's been caught up in action. Of course, we saw him as we went, as you see, what's that, Charlie Martin going deep again. I'm not sure what's going on with her at the moment. She had a couple of squirmy corners, to say the least. But yeah, he's got some very, very tough competition in front of him. Of course, Regan Mitchell, we know how good he is in these Caymans, so he's going to be a very difficult man to get past. Of course, Steve Hindon a couple of places up as well. If you go further up, you've got the likes of Truls Solberg, Gabriel Lafreniere. They're not going to be easy to get past him, so it's definitely going to be a very difficult and long race for Luca this evening. He's already made one position back, but Rumle Jensen, of course, we know how quick he is. He's going to be right on the tail of that Zancho SimSport Cayman for the next 54 and a bit minutes. So it's going to be very, very keen to see how this is going to end up. But it's certainly all looking up Jensen's way at the moment.
As we see Jack McIntyre looking to the inside of Oscar Sandberg and making contact as they come through Brundle. McIntyre facing the wrong way and involving a collision there. I think it was David Belanger and Jack Nolla having to take evasive action as another Turman Esports car goes off into the grass. The Mini Challenge UK E-Series runner-up still facing the wrong way, manages to get going again, so he's rejoined the action but well down the order, and that's elevated Gabriel Lafreniere into the point. So as things stand, EGT Challenge will be on for their first double points finish of the season, which would be fantastic to see from this group of fellas. They've really raced hard and they've really improved over the course of the 3 races so far. But Lafreniere now in behind Truls Solberg, looking to the inside on the run up towards Riches. Lafreniere attempting to hold his position around the outside and does so. Wonder if you'll see Lafreniere fighting back into the hairpin at Wilson. But Dean Allen now up into 5th place. A fantastic start from him. He's just managed to get past David Belanger, I believe, to take 5th. So they're scrapping from 4th down to 8th, and then there's a little bit of a gap to Yannick Valenduk, and then there's this train which is on the right hand side of your screen of Truls Solberg, Gabriel Lafreniere, Tim Weller and Steve Hindon, and then there's a further little gap back to Sarah Moore, Regan Mitchell, Mark Raddenbury and championship leader Luca Burke, who's finding himself with plenty of Caymans to keep him occupied for the next 53 minutes.
Absolutely, yeah, he's certainly got it. He's certainly got his work cut out at the moment. See Jack McIntyre going round the outside of Agostini and then so into Hamilton. Lovely move from the debutant there at the moment. But yeah, you can see it's just not what Luca wants at this moment in time. And the good thing for Jensen Button up front, Jack Nolla, who's currently sitting in 3rd position on his 2nd race for the MSL Motorsports team, he's currently nearly 8 seconds adrift of Ross McGregor. So he's got plenty of comfort back to him. So he can afford to potentially take it a little bit easier, but he's actually pumping in really quick times, Tim. He did a 1:56.0, which was 4/10 of a lap quicker, so 4/10 of a second, quicker than Ross McGregor last time out. So he's certainly not letting his foot off the pedal at the moment. Of course, we're only 8 minutes in, and you see Mark Raddenbury, I think that's in the bottom corner of your screen, going a little bit wide out of Nelson, as we've seen a few people do this evening. But there is battles all the way up and down, so even if Luca Burke does manage to get through the first one that he's stuck in, he's just going to get onto the back of another train if he manages to, and it's going to be an absolute horror show for him this evening. And you mentioned it's going to be giving someone a headache if he gets dropping a little bit further back. That's exactly what he's going to be feeling right now.
Dean Allen here in the number 33 Podium Sim Racing machine with his teammate John Clements behind. I wonder if that's a fairly clean move from Clements, probably an extra couple of inches given to a teammate there. As Regan Mitchell looking to get past Sarah Moore and has done so, and then it's Jack McIntyre and Rumle Jensen looks to have repassed Luca Burke as we see drama in the background at the Wilson hairpin. McIntyre attempting to go around the outside of Moore and doing so, running all the way over the curb on the right hand side but rejoining the track. And it looks like Jensen's fighting back up the inside, and this is just costing Burke time, isn't it, David? It's difficult trying to pass one car, let alone 2 or 3 running side by side.
Absolutely. I mean, you've got to assume that he's got some damage as well, because if he was in ship shape, I'm sure he wouldn't be leaving it too long behind these guys. On the last lap alone, he did a 1:59.9, which compared to Jenson Button and Ross McGregor is over 3 seconds a lap slower. So he's certainly carrying some sort of issue, whether that is damage, whether it is literally just the fact that he's caught up, but he seems to be struggling to get past anyone. Of course, you see Rumley Jensen, he's gone up a couple of positions now. He's even gone past Luca. So he's definitely got some sort of issue. See Charlie Martin retiring to the pits, it looks like, as saw Alex Buncombe did the same as well. So unfortunately, that's going to be his championship charge out of the window. So it is very much a 2-horse race. And at the moment, you've got the second place man in the championship in pole position, as it were, and the championship leader down and out as it stands.
Indeed, as we see Lafreniere side by side with Hindon. No, sorry, that's a Podium Sim racing car, the 119 of Weller, as they managed to negotiate Coram and Murray's. Hindon a few seconds up the road, actually. Looks like he's managed to make his escape from this very close battle. Lafreniere now on the outside into Riches and attempting to make a rather fantastic move at the very tricky first corner, and then he'll be on the outside again for the hairpin at Wilson's. And it looks like Weller's managed to get the job done, trying to get a cut back on the exit, and in behind Regan Mitchell and Jack McIntyre closing up, and Jensen as well. But crucially, Luca Burke not going with that train. He's dropped off the back 1.9 seconds now, his disadvantage to the train, and he's now 6 positions outside of the points, and looking like he hasn't got the car underneath him to get there and stop Jenson Button for delaying his championship party as they come through the left at Hamilton and into the right at Oggies. Lafreniere on the outside once again, which will turn into the inside, it seems, for the first time on this particular lap. And if you can hold through the right-hander onto the Bentley straight, it should be job done as Regan Mitchell attempts to follow through on Jack McIntyre behind. But crucially, David, Burke not able to latch onto the back of this train.
No, absolutely. He's not. He's not got the pace. You can see how far back he is at the moment. He's losing time hand over fist. You can see this battle, even though they're battling so much in these last couple of corners. You see Gabriel Lafreniere going a little bit wide there. He's putting under pressure from Regan Mitchell and Jack McIntyre. Looks like both of them are going to make the move. He did a fantastic job getting past Tim Weller in the last couple of corners, but it's all been undone with a little trip onto the grass. And Steve Hindon, I think that is. Oh no, sorry, it's not. No, it's Tim Weller. Steve Hindon's disappeared off up into the points now, which I'm sure he'll be happy for us to mention. But Rumley Jensen looking at the inside of Murray's. Contact there, and that is Luca Burke. He has managed to catch up to the back of these lot, but very, very good sportsmanship from Rumley Jensen there. Did give Weller a little bit of a knock, but has looked to have waited for him, which is good to see.
Yeah, indeed. And we saw the picture-in-picture referencing that Ross McGregor now has the gap to race leader Jenson Button down to a second. It actually dipped down to 9/10, I believe, at 7/10 during that previous tour of the Snetterton 300 circuit. As they come through Hamilton's and into Oggies, the gap as close as it has been so far this evening. And there is Jenson Button just zooming out of shot, and Ross McGregor looking in fine form indeed behind the Zancho Sim Sport driver. Best finish this season so far of 5th. Didn't race last time at Kyalami, but looking like he's going to better his best result at the moment in 2nd. And those two are pulling away from Jack Noller in 3rd. And Daniel Wood here locked in battle with his teammate Tim Weller in front, and then Rumley Jensen behind, who seems to have been involved in every single point of action this evening, with 14 minutes elapsed nearly. Jenson Button doing a stellar job in that middle sector actually to extend the gap to McGregor. It's now 1.2 seconds again. So it looks like, I wonder, David, whether there's set-up differences between the two, and McGregor's able to close up on maybe the straight line bits, but Button has it in the twisties.
Certainly looks like it, doesn't it? Yeah, you're seeing that Jensen is making the time up where it matters, which of course is the infield areas that you've got around this Snetterton 300 circuit, and I wouldn't say he's looking comfortable as such, but he's certainly exerting some sort of comfort throughout portions of this lap. So it's going to be interesting to see how he gets on. Of course, still 46 minutes there or thereabouts still to play for. So any mistake at this point, as we've seen quite a few people making, just because there's been so much action up and down the field, any small mistake can put him back into second place. The good thing for him, of course, is the fact that the gap back to Jack Noller is continuing to expand. It's now 11.5 seconds back from Ross McGregor back to Jack Noller in the current third position at the moment. So it's going to be, we've got plenty of time, but it's certainly looking like it's Jensen's to lose race-wise at the moment.
Well, the leading duo definitely gapping the field and exchanging lap times, exchanging best sector times even on that previous lap. Jenson Button going purple in the second sector. So he's not relenting. He's definitely pushing on. But he is in the best position to take the championship fight to the final rounds. We see one of the Turn 1 Esports cars, I think that was Charles Solberg, getting all kinds of squirrely on the exit of Agostini on the run into Hamilton's, but he's managed to rejoin the track safely. But I do think that left Mitchell and McIntyre through. So Mitchell up into the points and Solberg dropping down the order. Steve Hinden in the 9th place position at the moment in the Esport Designs number 80 Cayman, closing in on the back of Yannick Valenduk in the 301 Sim Racing Hub International car. And Steve will be looking to bag those points. We heard from him last time, David, that he wasn't able to get into the points at Imola. Disconnection at Nürburgring dropped him out of the points. And again, last week at Kyalami, he just felt that he maybe didn't have enough to get the best of that really intense battle in the midfield, and ended up finishing 11th. But it could all change this evening, and he's looking like he's got good pace to maybe put some tallies next to his name.
Absolutely, Tim. Yeah, I mean, that Esports Design number 80 car is looking a little bit battered and bruised. Of course, got caught up in some action into the first couple of corners on lap number 1, but he certainly doesn't seem to have deterred him too much. He's still got a 3.5 second gap thereabouts back to Regan Mitchell in 10th, who's then got Jack McIntyre close for company. So I imagine that gap may extend a little bit depending on how the battle between Yannick Valenduk and Steve goes now. He's very close off the back of him at the moment. I'm sure what he'll be hoping is to put as many cars in between him and the final points paying position as he possibly can, just to try and avoid any upsets again, because like you say, he's been in the position to do it. He's just unfortunately been caught up in a couple of errors here and there and a couple of battles that have seen him come out worse. So he'll be hoping to get past Yannick if he can, or at least just stick close to him and have a nice quiet 43 minutes left of this race. I'm sure he will.
So Steve Hinden, well, he's got a 3.3 second advantage over Regan Mitchell, one of only 4 drivers to finish in the points every round so far. And as they head through Williams, it wouldn't be surprised to see that gap closed down. But as we saw last time out, if someone starts to bridge the gap, he normally brings a battle pack with him. And Mitchell's got 4-time British Sim champ Jack McIntyre in tow behind, actually looking to the inside in the back of shot there on the run through to Brundle Nelson as we ride on board. On the bottom right hand side of your screen, a very wonderful onboard camera down in the splitter of the 718 Cayman GT4 of Steve Hinden. This camera brought to you obviously by Steve Proudley of SimSport Solutions, our broadcast director, doing a fantastic job once again. You can see the glare from the sun setting here at Snetterton as they run through Murray's. There are plenty of overtaking opportunities here, aren't there, David? But it's again one of those tracks where you've maybe got to get the best out of the preceding corner to have your best chance at a pass at the next one.
Absolutely, Tim. Yeah, you're almost setting it up a couple of corners in advance. You've got one here, of course. She goes to Riches. If Steve can get a good exit out of here, he's got a chance to do it into the Wilson's hairpin. He does show the inside to Yannick Valenduk, but doesn't manage to do it this time. And it's very much, you just need to, is Yannick Valenduk getting caught on the curb, it looked like there, and spun himself round. I don't think there was any contact between the two of them. It just looked like Yannick maybe got on the power or clipped that sausage curb on the inside and spun him round, and that's another position up the order for Steve Hinden. So we're talking about how you're going to have to set up an overtake. You could just wait until the hairpin and hope that your opponent makes a mistake, perhaps.
And we have seen that, haven't we, that sometimes the unforced error is really what decides your race result for both the driver making the mistake and those behind. You can benefit greatly if you just just apply that pressure, just keep the heat on that driver in front, and a mistake is sure to be on the way as we look at the number 222 EGT car of David Belanger doing a fantastic job in 5th and very much holding his own against podium finisher at Kyalami Oscar Sandberg, top 5 finisher last time out John Clements, and a very fast looking Allen in the 33 car behind at the back of this train. So 4 cars locked together, but Belanger, the Canadian, doing a fantastic job, and it's been great to see him improve over the course of this championship, hasn't it, Dave? We've definitely mentioned his name further up the order as every race on a Monday night happens.
Absolutely, Tim. Yeah, I think if we cast our mind back to Imola, the first round, he wasn't too far off the oh no, in fact he didn't finish, apologies, in Imola, so he had a couple of issues there. But like you say, he's just gotten quicker and quicker every week, it seems, and he's certainly doing a good job at the moment. Of course, sitting 4th now, he's got past Oscar Sandberg as they go into Riches onto lap number 11, so he can potentially have his sights set towards Jack Noller ahead of him. There's only 4 seconds gap in front of him, and obviously with the amount of time we've got left, still got plenty of time to do it, but he's putting on a hell of a show, and he's really been a constant improver throughout this championship, and he's clearly showing the pace that he's got underneath the sleeves.
Which is fantastic to see. A lot of drivers getting used to the high octane, high energy racing action provided here in this inaugural season of the eSport Designs Cayman Cup. As we look at Jack McIntyre, he's looking to get ready to try and make a move on Regan Mitchell. They have gapped Truls Solberg rather nicely after the Turn 1 eSports driver made a mistake only a handful of laps ago. It looks like Mark Raddenbury has dropped back to pit lane as well in the 750 Dunn Motorsports car, so he's another one of our drivers who looks to have called it a day this evening. McIntyre now in 10th, looking best placed to score points on his debut appearance in the series. Mitchell in front, and as you can see in picture again, looking back from the SimSport Racing number 4 car of Mitchell, number 69 car of Mitchell, to the 4 of McIntyre. These two 9th and 10th at the moment, and it looks like they've very much closed in on Steve Hindon, who potentially could be carrying damage from a couple of incidents early on in the opening 22 minutes of this event. So I'd be interested to see if they can carry that momentum and get past the number 80 in front. And that's what it's all about sometimes. Catching is one thing, passing is another. But if you've got the momentum on your side, you can make the move and gain that position.
Yeah, absolutely, Tim. Yeah, it's certainly one of those. And as we saw, obviously, quite a bit of action in the first couple of laps, quite a few incidents, unfortunately. And obviously, one thing we will stress is that the results you'll see after the next 38 minutes, of course, will be provisional, subject to any sort of reviews, anything like that. But it's looking at the moment, though, that people have got different levels of damage. So people are potentially quicker than others due to just outright pace. And you have got, obviously, a fairly mixed up grid. You can see Luca Burke's now made his way up into 12th place. He's now still 2 seconds adrift of Truls Solberg, who's then 5 seconds back from Jack McIntyre. So if these two do continue to battle, it looks like they're not necessarily getting in the thick of each other at the moment between McIntyre and Mitchell, but it still looks like Luca Burke's on with an outside chance of some points that can at least loosen some of the damage that's caused from that early incident in this race.
He's going to have to fight back into the order, but even if he manages to bag that final points position, Jenson Button is still in the correct place to take the fight to Donington Park next week, Monday evening, the 22nd of March, as we look at Tim Weller in the 119 podium sim racing car. He's got his teammate behind, Wood, and then Pope following on a further 1 second back, and in front Sarah Moore in the 26 Topwith Motorsport car, running slightly wide actually ahead through Oggies, and that might allow these two to close up to the back of the Brit Car champion as they round Williams and onto the Bentley straight. And Jenson Button still leading the way at the top of the order, with Ross McGregor second and Jack Noller holding on to 3rd place, and David Belanger doing a great job in 4th. Oscar Sandberg rounding out your top 5. But yes, like you say, David, Luca Burke looking like he's managing to steer clear of drama and climb up the order, which is almost what he needs to do now. If he hasn't got the pace in the car, is it worth pushing flat out, or do you just wait and hope that mistakes around you can help lift you those positions?
Yeah, it's a bit of a conundrum, isn't it? If it's one of those, you've got 37 minutes left of this race, there or thereabouts. Do you make a move? Do you make moves now? Do you force the position? If I was him, I think he'd probably had his time. Obviously, I've no doubt the red mist would have descended when he had that incident going into Agostini on the first lap. He's managed to hopefully put that to the back of his mind, that he's now seemingly getting that pace, and he's very close to the back of Charles Solberg as well. That will give, if it does stay as it is and Luca doesn't manage to get back into the points, that will give Jensen a 16-point deficit to claw back when we go to Donington next week, because at the moment Ross McGregor is still the fastest man out on track. He's still holding on to that fastest lap, so it's not over yet, still got plenty of time. However, Luca Burke is certainly making his mark again, and he's getting a little bit further up the standings as we speak.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if we can see him push up through the order. We've seen Luca Burke at the front and out there alone, apart from last time out at Kyalami, where he was forced to battle with Button. You know, we haven't seen Burke challenged and in amongst the traffic, but this evening, it's his previous 3 races, which have seemed to have gone his way, fairly kindly. He's forced now to properly dig deep and with a damaged car and get himself back into the points and pass some very quick cars around him, as we say that. It looks like the 87 Zancho car has just jumped ahead of Charles Solberg into 11th, but an 8.5 second gap now extends between him and Jack McIntyre, who's also part of the Zancho community, in 10th place. So if it wasn't hard enough already, David, it's certainly not going to get any easier.
Absolutely, and the 3 who are ahead of him are actually fighting for position as well. So Steve Hinden, Jack McIntyre and Regan Mitchell all very close on track, as we saw a moment ago. We managed to get a cockpit view from Regan's number 69 machine as he looked to make a move. Interestingly, Tim, he did actually seem to back out as they went out of Nelson and up towards the bomb hole, which is not something you expect to see. It doesn't matter though, because Regan looks to have got the move done. Jack McIntyre going to look for the move into Montreal as well, doesn't manage to do it. So he's going to sit in 10th, but all of this is going to just bring the battle back towards Luca Burke. You can just about see him at the apex of the hairpin in the background. So he's still got plenty of time to get this 8-second gap back, and it's only going to be made easier if these 3 keep on battling.
It would have been heartbreaking for Burke just as he rounded the hairpin at Wilson's. He would have been able to see over the tyre barrier current race leader, championship rival Jenson Button heading into Williams. So as the track loops around, he would have been very much aware that Button was still leading the order, and though Button is leading, that gap hasn't extended or changed too noticeably. The real changing deficit is between McGregor and Nolla, now up to over 16 seconds. So really it looks like it's going to be between those two for the victory here. And just right at the back of shot there, you can see Luca Burke. It's a sizable margin to close up, but if anyone can do it, it'll probably be Luca Burke.
Yeah, you've certainly got the right person in mind to claw back that sort of gap. And as you can see, these guys are fighting hammer and tongs at the moment. Jack McIntyre all over the back of Steve Hinden as they go through the bomb hole towards Coram. Oh, he gets a little bit out of shape. It's one of those tracks, Tim, isn't it? You go ever so slightly onto the grass and it just sucks you out of the circuit and off into what almost feels like an abyss. There's so much green space around the outside of these track layouts that there is, if you catch any form of it, you're going to be drifted off into no man's land. But he manages to keep a hold of it. But it doesn't look like it's going to be too long before he's going to be right back on the back bumper of that number 80 Sports Design machine and going to be looking to put the moves on him.
So let's have a look then. So Luca Burke is the next across the line, and it's still 8.6 seconds the gap. So although Burke's only had a couple of laps to do his best to eat into that, he hasn't been able to take a bite out of it just yet, as Jack McIntyre looks to make a move around the outside, then decides to tuck back in behind Steve Hinden, who's going to be doing his best to hold on to a points position, and he'll be aware that there is a sizable gap, a little buffer behind McIntyre that Hinden could fall into if he needs to just lap round safely and get to the checkered flag and put the first point, if indeed it is 10th place, the first point against his name this season, which would be great to see. I know Steve mentioned a couple of times that he feels he's very much unfortunate so far to have got the drive-through that we've mentioned once again there, David. So I'm sure Steve will be counting those up when he watches this back. And the disconnect, which is just, again, one of those things out of your own control, but looking like he's very much in control at the moment inside the top 10. Denise Pope here in 19th, in front of Wood in the 29 podium sim racing car behind. Looking very nice in the Wild Things 79. One of my favourite liveries, actually, of all of them. The pink, black and silver design. Very eye-catching. But Jack McIntyre here looks like he attempted to make a move. Wasn't able to do it because he's now dropped back from Steve Hindon. Actually, a sizable margin of a few tenths to the number 80. So McIntyre maybe attempting something that wasn't quite on, and has lost out to the series organiser. Yannick Valenduk, who was running in the points early on, is now in 13th and looking like he's locked in battle with Truls Solberg. As we cut to Dean Allen, and he's going side by side with teammate John Clements as they run up towards Palmer, and it looks like Allen has got the job done. And with half the race gone and with half the race still to go, Jenson Button leads the way from Ross McGregor. Jack Noller holding on to a podium position in third. Then it's David Belanger in fourth, ahead of Oscar Sandberg, Daniel Allen and John Clements, who we saw battling away just moments ago. Regan Mitchell in 8th place, ahead of Steve Hindon, who's doing his best to hold on to his first points-paying position, with Jack McIntyre rounding out the top 10. Championship leader Luca Burke, after finding drama on the opening lap with Rumley Jensen, forced off into the grass and into the barrier, has fought back through to 11th. But crucially, that is not enough to see him take the title this evening, and the championship might roll on to the final round at Donington Park. And David, if this first half an hour hasn't been exciting enough, the second 29 minutes and a bit is going to be even more tantalising.
Absolutely, Tim. Yeah, we've got plenty of action still to come, so don't go anywhere. Jenson Button in the pits, Tim. I've just noticed Jenson Button has gone into the pits. What's happened there? Hopefully we'll be able to find out what's happened. He's dropping down the leaderboard at the moment, so don't know what's happened to him, whether he's had an incident or something else. Wouldn't imagine it's a disconnection because he's still in the lobby itself. But horrible news for Jenson. We'll see if he gets moving in a moment. You can see he's in the picture in the bottom corner of the screen. But this is going to throw everything wide open. You're just talking about our next 29 minutes of action. We've had some within about 10 seconds of you mentioning it.
It's my fault, isn't it, David? It's my fault. I should keep my mouth shut when I say things like that. But Jenson Button tumbling down the order on the left-hand side, down to 7th. And there's a nice gap, you would hope, to fit in behind. But no, he's going to be outside of the points. And this looks like it's going to be championship deciding. Luca Burke, Jenson Button, I mean, he's still stationary in pit lane. So drama has certainly struck in this final 29 minutes. And all Burke needs to do is, well, I don't think even Burke needs to finish the race with Buncombe retiring. Now Button, and Burke's just got up into the points, actually, as of course benefiting from Button's stoppage. It looks like the whole race that we thought we had playing out before us, Dave, has been turned on its head.
Yeah, championship point Luca Burke, eh? It's just literally gone from one end to another within a split second. I will hopefully try and confirm to you guys as soon as possible watching the stream what's actually happened to Jenson. Hopefully he'll make his issue known somewhere over the next few minutes, and we'll let you know exactly what that is as soon as we possibly can. But that is really thrown us, well, it's thrown it all the way back to Luca Burke, Tim. Like I say, Al Buncombe, of course, dropping out of the race early because of some of the contact he was involved in towards the start. Of course, he was a passenger in the contact at Agostini from Rumley Jensen, I think it was, who came together with Luca Burke. And yeah, we see Jenson Button now in the pits as well, and the two championship contenders nowhere to be seen, unfortunately. So Ross McGregor inherits the lead of this race. Jack Noller inherits second place, and David Bellinger is inherited a podium at the moment. But as you can see on screen at the moment, he's under quite a bit of pressure going through Coram from Oscar Sandberg. We saw these two come together a little bit earlier on in the race. They went through Brundle into Nelson, both of them catching that sausage curb on the inside of Murray's as they go on to the start-finish straight to start there, lap number 18. But Tim, it'd be a fantastic display to see David Bellinger get a podium, wouldn't it?
Oh, it'd be fantastic for the Canadian, part of the EGT Challenge squad. That would be the first rostrum for the team, but with 26 minutes to go, he's got a sizable task on his hands to keep Oscar Sandberg behind, because Sandberg, he was bang on the pace in the opening round at Imola. Disappointed with having to fight through to score a single point at the Nürburgring. And then last time out at Kyalami, it really felt like we saw what Sandberg was capable of. He so nearly took pole position. He admitted post-race that he lost just about enough time to see him grab the pole position on his fastest lap. And then he was locked in battle and ended up finishing third to take his first podium finish. So Sandberg knows how to get it done in this series, and he certainly won't be giving Belanger an easy time. Will the class winner at the 2020 Nürburgring 24 Hours. He's very capable in a Cayman in the real world, and indeed in the sim world. It looks like Belanger's just able to do enough through that middle sector. If we look at the last lap times, Belanger, well, there was a 10th in it actually through the middle sector, so I'll stop my point there. But it looks like Belanger's just able to match Sandberg and keep the Turn 1 Esports car at bay.
Yeah, absolutely. He's certainly doing a good job at the moment. Of course, being a racing coach, like we well know, he's certainly going to know all of the defensive tricks in the book, isn't he? So he's not going to make it easy for Oscar to make any move if he is to do so. We are starting to see the sun go down. Of course, it's 8:41 in-game time at the moment. You see, I'll say the sun goes down. You get a massive shine of it as they go through Coram through the back end of the circuit. Jack McIntyre still not able to get past Steve Hinden. He is making that number 80 Cayman as wide as a bus at the moment as they go into Murray's onto lap number 19 it will be now. Steve going a little bit wide out of there, but it's going to give him enough chance to get on the power and get out of that corner and onto the centre straight. And he's doing a fantastic job of holding on at the moment, and it's the courtesy of Jenson Button dropping out of this race. And like I say, we will confirm to you exactly what's happened to him as soon as we can. If we can hear from him, it's promoted Steve into a more comfortable points pair position, Tim.
Yep, and it looks like Steve coming under fire. McIntyre looks to have got the move done. He's on the grass on the way into Wilson, makes contact with the side of Steve Hinden, but Hinden able to get going again and hasn't lost out too much. You can see there's no cars really in behind, a 10.5 second margin back to Burke. So despite these two battling, Luca Burke hasn't been able to close that margin. So that really shows maybe the car Burke's got underneath him, or indeed that the championship leader, champion elect, we shall now refer to him as, has maybe just decided to back off and make sure he can get to the checkered flag. But as the sun sets, as you say, David, battle is very much on between David Belanger and Oscar Sandberg here for the final step on the rostrum. And looking to join the party in behind is Dean Allen in the 33 Podium Sim Racing car. As Sandberg goes to the inside and he just can't get the car stopped, and he's skipped all the way through the corner at Nelson and off into the green abyss, as you called it, David, on the outside there. Manages to get the car gathered up, but Belanger escaping with his life there, lucky not to get collected.
Goodness me, that reminded me of, for any motorcycle fans, that reminded me of Valentino Rossi and his incident at the Red Bull Ring a couple of years back, where he was just a passenger and he had someone literally go right in front of him as he came off the track. And that was, I'm not entirely sure what happened there. It just looked like Oscar might have just misjudged his braking. Maybe there was a bit of lift off oversteer. We know these Caymans are susceptible to that, and that's dropped him a little bit down the leaderboard. He's down into fifth. So that's going to put Dean Allen in pole position to try and get that final step of the podium. But see, Ross McGregor at the moment, he was looking dead set for a second place. He's now dead set for a podium, for a win, isn't he? He's 19 seconds, I believe, if I calculate that correctly, if I didn't miss anything. Yeah, just over or just under 19 seconds ahead of current second place man Jack Noller, who we can see going through Agostini at the moment. You can see David Bellinger just in the background there. And although the top three look, well, I said the top two definitely look dead set on their positions, Tim, this podium position is definitely not out of reach for the next, I would say, 3 or 4 drivers down the standings.
It's going to be a big time scrap for the final step on the rostrum, but advantage David Belanger at the moment in the 222 EGT Challenge car. He's looking like he has got enough pace to hold off the attacks from Oscar Sandberg, and Sandberg potentially making a mistake in desperation to pass the red and white car in front of him. But here we go, on screen at the moment, champion-elect Luca Burke, who hasn't had an easy time this evening, and it's not over just yet. But with Jenson Button in pit lane and retiring, Alex Buncombe also in pit lane and retiring early on, it looks like he's got one hand on the trophy, and all he needs to do is get round, and that point for 10th place will really just put the very small cherry on the top of a very nice cake indeed.
Absolutely, Tim. Yeah, I'm sure he'll be happy with whatever finish he gets now that Jenson Button's dropped to the pits, and like you say, Alex Buncombe out of the race as well. So he's got one hand on it, and he's very slowly but surely just stretching that second one out just to bring it into his possession more so than it already is. But we can see at the moment, I mean, Ross McGregor, he is, I dare I say, he's been faultless, to be honest, Tim, in this first 40 minutes. Yes, he didn't necessarily have the outright pace that Jenson did in the first couple of laps, but it was ebbing and flowing, that gap, as I know you like to say a lot of the time. And now he's managed the gap, he's managed his race, and as a result, he's now got a 20-second gap in the lead. And so the fact that Jenson has dropped out, of course, is unfortunate, but it is a well-deserved current winning position for Ross McGregor. I say current because, of course, like I say, 20 minutes left, anything can still happen.
Indeed, anything can happen in the final 20 minutes as the track begins to cool. I've just noticed the track temperature has dipped below 10 degrees for the first time, so that's a pretty chilly track surface the drivers will be dealing with as the sun sets rather spectacularly over the Snetterton circuit in Norfolk in the UK. Regan Mitchell here in the 69 SimSport racing car, looking like he wants to get the job done on John Clements, and that's bringing these two, I suppose it's forcing them to drop off Oscar Sandberg and Dean Allen in that real scrap for the final podium position. Also, it might be bringing Jack McIntyre back into the fray. These guys fighting for 6th, 7th and 8th on track, as you see the battle for the podium just skipping through the front of the camera shot. And Steve Hindon there at the back of the shot, actually still doing well in 9th, with Luca Burke a multitude of seconds further down the order with 19 minutes to go. It looks like there's still some positions to be decided, still some disputes to be settled. Looking back from John Clements, the number 88 podium sim racing car at Regan Mitchell as they round through Coram. It's a corner that feels more like a roundabout than a racing turn, as we see on the timing tower on the left hand side. Oscar Sandberg handed a drive-through penalty, which he takes immediately. He's dived to pit lane to serve his run down on a very slow speed limiter. It feels like you could get out and walk faster, doesn't it, David?
Absolutely, yeah, and I'm sure some people could if they tried hard enough. Otherwise, about 39, 40 mile an hour. Also, see John Clements going very wide through there. Fantastic camera work from Steve Crowley. You see him on the roof of the number 88 podium sim racing machine. Got Regan Mitchell down the inside into the Montreal hairpin. Just about manages to keep the position at the moment as John, but Regan's going to be up the inside going into Palmer. Elects to drop back, and that's going to bring Jack McIntyre into the mix. Regan Mitchell is a fantastic racer, Tim, in the fact that he doesn't necessarily just jump for a position as soon as he gets the chance, but he's got the inside line going into Agostini. He's not necessarily going to outbreak himself, but John Clements outbreaks himself instead, and that gives Regan Mitchell the position. That's going to put him under fire from Jack McIntyre behind. But it was one of those, Tim, wasn't it? We've talked about it many, many times over the last 4 weeks. If you can't make the move yourself, you just need to keep the pressure on and try and force that mistake.
Yeah, forcing the issue really with Clements in front. It was very clever from Mitchell because he just showed his nose. You know, he just hung around on that inside line, didn't go late on the brakes, didn't look for anything spectacular. It was just enough to scare John Clements to some extent, and the podium sim racing car running wide through the left-hander Agostini, and that allowed Mitchell through. But Mitchell hasn't got it easy, as Clements has very much closed onto the back of him and brought McIntyre with him. McIntyre now looking to the outside of a slow Clements as they go through the bomb hole, and indeed McIntyre still on the outside through Coram. He's going to have to fight the long way around a very long corner if he wants to do that one. Clements understeers out, which almost becomes the defensive line into Murray's and blocks the opportunity for McIntyre to make a move, and that's allowing Mitchell to just scamper away a little bit and have some breathing space as they cross the start-finish line for the 22nd time. And these guys still going at it. McIntyre looking like he wants to force the issue on Clements and beat a man while he's down and get through. As they come through Riches, down into the Wilson hairpin, it looks like McIntyre's going to have to get his act together and find another position to another part of the track to make the move. And Steve Hindon closing in behind, running in 8th place, a very comfortable 8th place now, with Oscar Sandberg in 9th. So despite the Turn 1 Esports driver and podium finisher last time out, Kyle Lamy, serving his drive through penalty, he's still come out onto the track ahead of Luca Burke. So Luca Burke, champion-elect, hasn't gained from that award of the penalty from the steward. So still 10th place for the 87th Zansho Esports car. And, well, it looks like, David, that with McIntyre scrapping hard with Clements, it's going to be a matter of when, not if, the Zansho back driver gets past.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see him all over the grass to come out of Williams onto the Bentley Straight. He's going to have the prime position on the entry into Brundle, but he's going to have the outside line go through Nelson, so he's going to try and make the move into the first apex, which it looks like he does. It looks like John Clements is going to try and stick around the outside, but he doesn't. A little bit of contact maybe? No, it looked like Jack McIntyre maybe went a little bit sideways through there, but he didn't, and he's managed to keep the move, and it's a very nicely worked overtake from the number 4 machine. Like I say, Steve Hindon's going to be licking his lips, so I'm sure he was hoping there may be a little bit of a nudge or a coming together between these two, but they've kept it clean. And I'm just seeing we've got a replay coming up. We'll hopefully see what's happened here. This is between Truls Solberg and Noel Gibson, I think that is. Going down the back straight, it looks like into Brundle, and you can see Truls up the inside. A little bit of contact. Oh, I say a little bit of contact, Tim. Dare I say a little bit of a punt there from Noel Gibson, and that's put Solberg into the wall, and as it looks like, out of this race, because he's dropped back into the pit lane.
Yeah, it looked like it was enough contact, really, a bit of a headbutt into Nelson's to just turn the Turn 1 Esports driver into the barrier on the left-hand side. So an unfortunate coming together between the two drivers, but the order as it stands, heading into this final quarter of tonight's event at Snetterton, round 4 of the Esport Designs Porsche Cayman Cup. It's Ross McGregor leading the way comfortably after looking very strong in qualifying, looking like he might have had enough to cause championship contender Jenson Button a few headaches in the opening half of tonight's event. He's now benefited from the Formula 1 2009 World Champion retiring to pit lane to lead comfortably from Jack Noller in the MSL Motorsports number 36 car, 22, or best part, 23 seconds back. Then it's David Belanger in the 222 EGT Challenge car in 3rd place, and looking like he could be picking up a podium position for the first time, provided he can keep Alan behind in the number 33 Podium Sim Racing car. Regan Mitchell up to 5th, Jack McIntyre in 6th position, with John Clements 7th. On your screen at the moment, coming under fire from Steve Hindon, who's looking to the inside through Bombhole. These two went side by side earlier on in the race, and now as they come through Coram, they look like they're going to lock horns once again on the run through into Murray's. And Steve looking like he's got the pace to make a move, David.
Yeah, he's certainly looking racy, isn't he? He's certainly looking for a move. I was a little bit worried when he looked for a move going into the bomb hole, but he didn't manage to do it that time. You see Dean Allen all over the back of David Bellinger at the moment in that EGT Challenge machine. And it looks like Dean has got the pace. We see Stephen going very, very wide through Riches. Oh, my goodness me. And you can see there's actually got to the point where there's some fencing around the outside. That's how far wide he's gone outside that first corner. Benefit for him, of course, he's fortunate. He has got an enormous gap, around about 8 to 10 seconds to Oscar Sandberg in the Turn 1 Esports machine behind him. So that's not going to put him any way down the order. So his points position at the moment is still going to be intact. We're going to switch focus to the battle for the final podium position. Just under 12 minutes to go, Tim. And Dean Allen's certainly looking like he's capable of making a move, but anytime I say that, he gets a little bit closer and then he seems to be dropping back a little bit. So it's very much a moving battle at the moment. Certainly not too much in terms of some sustained pressure, shall we say, from Dean.
Indeed, it looked like, as we saw from Belanger early on, he did have the ability to keep Sandberg at bay, and now Allen is looking like he's got to do what Sandberg couldn't and make a move on Belanger for the final podium position. But the pace from from Belanger in the EGT Challenge car has been very good this evening, and it does look like he has enough in the bag to keep a challenger at bay. So let's see if he can hold on. He's managed to keep a grasp on this final podium step for the last 20 or so minutes. And now he's only got 10 more minutes to go, David, but sometimes in this series 10 minutes can seem like a lifetime.
Absolutely, especially when you've got someone like Dean Allen sat in your mirrors as close as he is. He seems to be dropping to and fro. It's not necessarily it's not a stagnant gap as such. It's definitely going from anything from sort of 2 or 3 tenths up to about half a second, if not more. But again, that could just be simply the factor of, we talked about it a bit earlier when we were talking about the comparison between Ross McGregor and Jenson Button. It could be something as simple as setup. Maybe David is more comfortable in the infield compared to Dean being a little bit quicker down the straight. So we'll have to keep a keen eye on it. But this looks like the battle to keep an eye on at the moment, of course. Only 16 cars left, Tim. It's certainly been a war of attrition. We have also lost Daniel Wood and Denise Pope in between Truls Solberg and Jenson Button. So unfortunately, we're seeing quite a few people drop out. I'm guessing that's probably courtesy to some of the contact, shall we say, towards the start of this race. But those who are still running have done a fantastic job, and it just shows you the testament to the quality of racing we've had over these last nearly now 4 completed races. And if we're going to have anything like we have done, Donington next week's going to be a cracker as well.
Yep, looking forward to that. The finale, the final round of this inaugural season of the eSport Designs Porsche Cayman Cup. And well, we heard from Steve Hindon last time that if the people want the party to continue, then the music will continue playing. And I definitely enjoy another season. I speak on behalf of you, David, that we've certainly strap in for another go at all of this, because it's just been spectacular so far in the 3 races we've had, and the 4th race we're about to complete. Sorry.
Absolutely, yeah. We've been blessed with a significant amount of action up and down the field, and fantastic to commentate on and call as well. And we've had some fantastic camera angles, such as this front splitter one, courtesy of broadcast director Steve Proudley. As we can see, this is from the splitter of Dean Allen, still very, very close behind the EGT Challenge car of David Bellinger, the Treble 2 machine, as we come on to another lap of this Snetterton 300 circuit going into Riches. Double apex corner, of course. You want to try and catch that second one. Don't run too far out. We saw Steve Hindon do that a couple of laps ago and nearly went off into the shadow realm, as it's affectionately known as. But he's getting close, Tim, but he just doesn't seem to be close in the right areas, does he? Not close enough that he can actually make any sort of move.
We've discussed, haven't we, that with the cars all being the same, the only differentiating factor is the driver behind the wheel and the setup they've chosen to apply to their car. The racing is so close that you do have to set up that move a couple of corners in advance. And speaking of making a move, this looks like it's Gabriel Lafreniere attempting to go around the outside of Nathan Gibson in the 420 Podium Sim racing car on the run through Riches, but Lafreniere electing to tuck in behind and live to fight another day. Lafreniere was running inside the points earlier on, but obviously has been dropped back as the race has calmed down. Jensen also just going out of shot there. He was the driver involved in that first lap calamity with Luca Burke and Alex Buncombe. But indeed, like you say, David, to make a move, sometimes you have to think 2, 3, even 4 corners in advance, and really set up that pass, because with the cars so close, with the margins so small, it's all those little advantages, marginal gains that can indeed close up.
Yeah, 100%, and it's very contributing to a track such as Snetterton as well. It's not necessarily, yes, there's plenty of overtaking spots, but if you do get that overtaking move wrong, it's going to impact you negatively throughout the race as well. And I'm actually just looking at the timing boards at the moment. I'm also seeing that Yannick Valenduk is not too far off the back of Luca Burke at the moment. He's just over half a second back. So although it won't necessarily have any significant change in terms of the where the championship is going for this evening, it would certainly give Yannick a nice boost of confidence if he can get past the champion-elect in the last 6.5 minutes or so.
That would be his first points, first point singular of the championship so far. The Sim Racing Hub International driver in the 301 Cayman in that grey and orange scheme, looking for a way past our champion-elect on the run up towards Riches with 6 minutes and 20 seconds to go. On your screen at the moment, it's Weller looking for a way past Sarah Moore on the run through Coreham and into Murray's, a very tricky braking zone, and we've seen plenty of drama before the drivers this evening through that particular turn on the run up through the Senna Straight and across the start-finish line to start what I believe is lap 28. So a lovely number of laps this evening. We've seen plenty of tours of the fantastic Snetterton 300 circuit. It certainly provided enough drama to last a lifetime this evening, but Ross McGregor out front, seeming like he's managed to steer clear of any action or bad luck. He's lapped very much consistently and leads the way over MSL Motorsports Jack Noller, and the gap is very much sizable and looking like it's not going to change too much with just over 5 minutes to go as they cross the line the previous time. McGregor setting a 1:57 dead, which is awfully clean to see on the timing screen, but a 24.7 second gap back to Noller. So really is a sizable gap between the two of them. Actually, it's just gone up to 25.1 seconds. So it really shows that McGregor is just a man in form at the moment. He's on rails and not looking like he's going to be challenged this evening. But it would have been great to see him challenge Button, wouldn't it, David? I think we were robbed to some extent of the race there.
Yeah, absolutely. And you could see that whether it was just Jensen managing pace, you see Tim Weller going up the inside into Brundle. Sorry, we'll come back to that in a second. But no, Sarah Moore has managed to close it off. Look like a fairly audacious move in the end. But yeah, it was certainly one of those. It's impossible to say without getting a chance to speak to him whether JB was managing pace or whether he was, or whether they were just running very similar races at the time. But yeah, I feel like we have lost a potential battle for the lead. It looked like Ross certainly had the pace, and it's safe to say he's probably backed off a little bit now, and he's still proves the pace that he has got underneath him, the fact that he's still managing to extend that gap back to Jack Noller behind him. But it's been a fantastic display from him. He wasn't necessarily going to be in the position to fight for the win. He was, I like to say, a second and a half or so behind, but he's inherited it and he's not looked back ever since. You see Tim Weller going around the outside. He's trying every single move possible to try and get past Sarah Moore, but that is the benefit of having some real life racing experience. It means that your defensive moves can be a little bit better than some others, because if you've had that experience in the real world, it can make you a little bit more averse to a little bit less susceptible to some sorts of the mistakes we've seen so far this evening.
Definitely, as we cut back to Dean Allen, still locked in this battle with David Belanger in the 222 EGT Challenge car. This is the battle for the final podium position. Belanger doing his best to hold on to what would be a maiden appearance on the rostrum, and the same for Dean Allen, who has really struggled so far this season, and a 9th place finish at the first round at Imola was really the best performance we've seen from him so far. 15th at the Nürburgring, 26th last time out at Kyalami, 15th in the championship with only 2 points against his name, but that could be set to change as he cuts back to the inside through Riches. He's now got the inside line on the run into the Wilson hairpin, and if he's the last of the late breakers, he might just make the move on David Belanger, and he strips the podium position from him. And with 2.5 minutes to go, Belanger's going to need to fight back soon. He's going to have maybe 2 laps to go, depending on where Ross McGregor next crosses the stripe on the start-finish line. But that was a very clean move from Allen, and exactly what he needed to do, David. We said set up the move, and he set up the move through Riches and got it done through the Wilson hairpin, but it looks like a slight mistake has allowed Belanger to close that gap right up to his back bumper.
Absolutely, yeah. It looked to me as if he even set that move up out of Murray. He's got a fantastic exit, and I know we're supposed to be incredibly unbiased as commentators, but I have developed a bit of a soft spot for David Belanger, so I'm a bit disappointed that he's lost that podium position. So I'm kind of hoping that he'll manage to get it back. But I mean, we can see Tim Weller's just trying the same move lap after lap, and Sarah Moore's almost looking back at him going, look, buddy, you can do that for the next minute and a half. I'm going to cover it off every single time. She certainly looks very comfortable in that number 26 machine, from Topworth Motorsport, and she's doing a fantastic job of keeping Tim Weller behind. And at the moment, looks like she's going to continue to do that. But as I've just noticed, Tim, Steve Hinden's actually managed to make up another position up into 7th. So his points paying position looks pretty much a dead cert now.
Looks set to take with 7th place, a nice 6 points to his name, which would be his first position, first tally against his name. As we see Valenduck and Burke going side by side in through Nelson. Valenduck running slightly wide, Burke tucked to the inside, and the run through the bomb hole, and he looks like he's got that position back. So these two exchanging blows in the final minute of the action here. It looks like Valenduck must have got past, and Burke's reclaimed that position for what is the final point, with 40 seconds to go. And we're going to look at Ross McGregor now, the man we've spoken about a lot this evening, but potentially hasn't had the cameras on him because it's been a fantastically solid drive from the Zansho Sim Sport racer. He's looked competitive from qualifying, and he looked like he was the man best placed to cause Jenson Button a sore head heading into the second half of this one. But indeed, he's inherited the lead once Button retired from the event, and he's flashing the lights because I think he knows that he's going to be taking the fourth race victory here at Snetterton. Rounding the final corner at Corham, we'll get the car stopped through Murray's and then head along the start-finish straight. And his teammate, Luca Burke, back up into 10th, is going to be taking that final point. And indeed, the championship as it stands. But to cross the line after 60 minutes of scintillating action here at Snetterton, Ross McGregor wins the 4th round of the eSport Design Porsche Cayman Cup. Jack Noller, in only his 2nd appearance in the series, looks like he'll be taking the 2nd spot, rounding the final corner at Murray's and onto the Senna straight. A sizable gap back to Dean Allen. It looks like David Belanger has been unable to make the move to regain that podium position that he held for so long. So I do agree with you, Dave. A little bit gutted to see David lose out on that position, but Allen now going to cross the line to take 3rd. Belanger 4th. Regan Mitchell battling back through the order will take 5th place ahead of Jack McIntyre, who takes a very stellar 6th place position, having started 8th and was involved in all kinds of drama. Here we go. Steve Hinden, the number 80 Cayman's going to cross the line for 7th ahead of John Clements. Oscar Sandberg in 9th ahead of Luca Burke, who's going to cross the line in 10th place, take 1 point, and surely with him the championship with that. So the inaugural season of the eSport Designs Cayman Cup provisionally goes to Luca Burke. Further down the order, Yannick Valenduck missing out on that 10th place after battling with Burke, and then Jensen. Gibson crosses the line in 13th. Gabrielle Lafreniere going to take 14th at the line. Sarah Moore just about doing enough to take, Tim Weller last-ditch attempt to get past the Topwick Motorsports driver, unable to do so. And these two will cross the line in 15th and 16th. But David, what a round to decide the championship. Obviously unfortunate to see it decided that way, but fantastic driving once again throughout the field. And Burke, when the odds were stacked against him, he did manage to race cleanly and get back up to the points.
Yeah, look, don't get me wrong. It's a shame that it had to be decided that way, of course. I'm hoping at some point we'll be able to confirm exactly what happened to Jensen, so we'll do our best to confirm exactly what's happened. He's not privy to talking to us at the moment, so maybe it's not something he was hoping to happen. Never is really, let's face it. But yeah, we were unfortunately robbed of what could have been a fantastic battle for the win. But that race had everything up and down the field, if not at the top. I mean, obviously action right at the start. I mean, we weren't short of incident towards the first couple of corners, were we? All the way through towards sort of Agostini in the middle of that infield section, and then throughout the race there was some fantastic racecraft from the guys as well, and brilliant to see everyone getting a chance to get some points, and fantastic to see, of course, Steve Hinden getting into the points as well. I'm sure he'll be very pleased, and I'm hoping we'll get to, Tim, you get a chance to chat to him in a few minutes, and it'll be very interesting to hear his thoughts on the invitation as well.
So actually, it looks like we've brought Steve in to the interview room. So I'm going to put on my trainers and leg it down there very swiftly. But David, your thoughts on Ross McGregor? He was looking, like he could challenge Button, but actually, as the race progressed, it was ebbing and flowing, that gap, wasn't it? And you were starting to wonder whether he could gather the momentum to make a pass on the Rocket Esports driver. But once Button had retired to pit lane, McGregor untouchable.
Absolutely, yeah. It was a fantastic display from him, and hopefully we'll get the chance to chat to him in a minute as well. And he did a fantastic job. He managed the race really well. Like I say, unfortunate that he wasn't able to get the chance to drop in and get a chance to have a battle for the first position. But I'm sure he'll be pleased with the win regardless. So Tim, I'll hand over to you. I'm sure you're out of breath now. You've run all the way down to the interview room, and we'll hear what some of the guys have got to say.
So I'm joined in the interview room with by series organiser Steve Hindon, but also with MSL Motorsports driver Jack Noller, who finished in second place this evening. Jack, after a first race at Kyalami, where you looked to be up at the sharp end of the order before a couple of incidents dropped you back down, a podium finish this evening. You must be very happy with that one.
Yeah, I'm very happy with that. Nearly got taken out the start, just had to floor it at turn 2. That was very close. Just picked my way through some incidents. I got fortunate this time, but you've got to be aware of that stuff. Wasn't quite as easy as it looked because I decided to accidentally not change tyres after qualifying. So there was nursing the tyres as long as I could throughout the race, managing the gap to the guys behind, knowing I wouldn't be able to catch Ross and Jensen above. Very happy with P2. Shame about Jensen's disconnect. But yeah, thanks to MSL and you guys at Esports Designs that give me the opportunity to race here for you guys.
Well, it's fantastic to have you in the championship, Jack, and a strong qualifying performance. And we've seen that qualifying really is half the battle in these races. But with the grid so tight, it's so important to be clean, isn't it, on that first lap? Because like we saw with Luca and a number of other drivers, find yourself caught out in an incident in that opening tour of the circuit, and really you've got the odds stacked against you.
Yeah, qualifying is very important, something I'm traditionally weak on, but have been improving over the last few months. So nice to be near the sharp end of the grid, a little bit more to find to catch the other guys who I can keep with on race pace. But yeah, definitely, especially around a track like here, it's just sometimes holding your position, even though you want to go for the moves, just is the best thing to do, and just picking your moments where others make mistakes and make contact, causing them to spin, then just picking your way through those gaps.
Well, congratulations on your result this evening, Jack. Look forward to seeing you next time out at Donington Park.
See you then.
And we go over to our race winner this evening, Ross McGregor. Ross, you were very quick in qualifying, up at the sharp end, which I'm sure you're very pleased with. But then to be battling with Button at the front and then handed the victory, I'm sure you've got a smile on your face this evening.
Yeah, it was a decent race. Jensen was like super quick tonight. He deserved to win, but unfortunately he was double booked, so he had to pit in halfway through. So yeah, it's bad luck for him. I think if he stayed in the race, I think he would have won it, to be honest. We were kind of trading tense at the front, just hot lapping, but I think he was just starting to eke away just ever so slightly. So yeah, I kind of lucked in. Unfortunately, I had a big enough gap behind to take it a bit easier over the curbs, because obviously these GT4s are notorious for getting punctures and things like that. So yeah, I had time and space to take it easy and just tick the laps off, but it was difficult to try to concentrate for those last 30 minutes or so. So yep, but quite happy with the result. I think the pace was decent. Just obviously a bit of misfortune for Al first of all in the first lap, and Jensen halfway through the race, and my teammates Jack and Luca as well, who also came into a bit of strife during the race. Also like to say that congratulations to Luca for wrapping up the championship. Probably not the way he'd like to do it, but it's I'm sure he'll take it.
A race win nonetheless, and heading into Donington Park, we'd be looking to do the same as you have done this evening.
I mean, it's as long as I get time to kind of practice beforehand, and you can qualify in like the top 4 or 5 positions, then you're always going to have a chance of mixing it at the front. So that's what I'm aiming for at Donington as well.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Ross, and congratulations on your result this evening. I'll quickly head over to our champion-elect and our champion crowned this evening, Luca Burke. Luca, drama in the opening lap. Probably the last thing you wanted was to be involved in an incident on the first lap of this evening's event, but you look like you're able to fight back and battle your way through to the points. But with Button disconnecting, not the way you want to win it.
Oh man, no. I don't even know how to describe tonight. Like it started off in qualifying, just getting tackled up with a few cars on what could have been pole, but oh well, it happens. And then comes race start and just all hell breaks loose. And me and Al get wiped out. I mean, it happens, I suppose, but there goes one championship contender, and then JB had to go. So yeah, it's an odd feeling that I won it, even though it was, well, a mess, to say it in a nice way.
Well, you say you won it in a strange way, but 3 race wins, 3 of the 4 races so far have gone your way. And obviously, viewers at home may or may not know you from your successes in the sim racing world, but how does this championship rank amongst your other victories? Because although it is new, a lot of big names dishing out the punches in this series. Are you very happy to be top of the pile on this inaugural run through the Esport Designs Cayman Cup?
Well, I value each championship, or any victory, any championship. It means a lot to me. So looking at the names I get to compete with and even the people I get to work with, it's just mind blowing. Like, I still don't think I quite realized where I am. So yeah, it's a great feeling, to say the least.
Well, congratulations, Luca, on the championship, and well done indeed for battling against it this evening.
Thank you.
We'll head over to our third placed finisher, Dean Allen. Dean, it looked like you're involved in plenty of drama this evening, but a maiden podium finish. How was it out there?
Scary, to be honest. Mixing it with them boys. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. Yeah, well, it's great to see that. And obviously, a couple of difficult races preceding this event tonight at Snetterton. A 15th at the Nürburgring, a 26th at Kyalami. It must be nice to be up at the sharp end.
It was, and I got a bit lucky, to be honest, with the lads in front crashing and getting tangled up with each other. Sort of opened the door for me to get up to 7th, 6th, and then make my way through the field. My teammate was in front, John Clements, and he had a puncher. He took it down to about 20 psi, I think, in the end. So he let me through, and then I was in 4th, caught up with 3rd, and the battle was on. And it was a great battle. Loved it.
Nice to hear you enjoyed the race this evening, and looking forward to Donington next time out. Is that a circuit that you think you'll be able to repeat the performance this evening?
Probably not, to be honest with you. I'd like to get in the top 12, maybe. That would be beautiful. That would be a great little championship to finish it off, to be honest. Looking at the opponents, they're top class.
Well, congratulations this evening, Dean. You were certainly in amongst it, so I look forward to seeing you next time out at Donington Park.
Thank you very much. Great job on the stream and all, lads.
Thank you very much, Dean. And we'll head over to Regan Mitchell. Regan, 5th place finish on the night, but your SimSport Racing Cayman was certainly bearing a few bruises.
I had to challenge myself for a little last to first challenge or similar. It's horrible. I was shoved onto the grass on the inside of turn 2, and it's horrible just praying that you don't T-bone someone. I've just seen that, unfortunately, I did actually hit Steve Hinden, so that's not very good. But after that, the race was very good.
Well, you're one of, I believe, now one of only 2 drivers to finish in the points at every race, the only other being our champion, Luca Burke. So how have you found racing in this series? Obviously, there's still a race to go at Donington Park. It's very close, isn't it? The margins between the drivers are very small.
Yeah, it's very hard as well. There's so much competition. It's I've never qualified in the top 10 because everyone's just so fast. I'm just lucky to keep it consistent and race up to the top 10.
Looking forward to the final round at Donington Park. Any chance of maybe going a little bit further up the order and getting that podium finish?
Well, I do like Donington, so I hope so. I'm going to definitely try for it.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Regan, and congratulations on your result.
Thank you.
We'll head over to Steve Hinden, series organiser and the man behind Esport Design. Steve, points this evening, which was your target after we spoke at Kyalami. How was your event tonight?
Yeah, better than drive-throughs. Unfortunately, it was. I don't know if Regan got hit in turn 2, but yeah, it was Regan that sort of pushed me out in turn 2, put me back down to, I think it was 19th. I went down to. I'll be honest with you, I didn't expect to finish anywhere near the points end of the race, but I kind of just put my foot down, got my bit between my teeth, and went at it. And yeah, it was a bit of luck, like Jensen disconnecting, as I just found out, unfortunately. There's a few people sort of having. I think Oscar Sandberg had a drive-through as well. Which obviously helps with a few places. But yeah, I think I've gained 4 points or something to cheer up, I suppose. Isn't it?
Listen, but you have to be in those positions to benefit from any drama that befalls the other racers, and we've seen you in the previous races up there in the points. So do you feel that tonight's result is really a fair assessment of your ability ranked against the other drivers in this series?
If I could finish in top 10, then yeah, I'd be happy with that. I mean, I went down to 19th and I've brought it back to, I think, 7th tonight. So yeah, I'm pleased with being able to do that. In terms of me battling for podiums, no, I don't really think I'm quick enough to be battling for podiums. I'm one of those that enjoys taking part.
Before we head back up to the commentary box, just your thoughts on the season and obviously this inaugural championship here, the Esport Designs Cayman Cup. You must be very proud of the series as it's been run so far and the racing that's taken place out on track.
Yeah, I can't have asked for better. Being the sort of the first series, it was from its concept was something. A lot of the people in there are sort of customers, clients of mine, or whatever, and it was kind of a give back to them. And hope that I could put something on that was enjoyable and we'd have some fun at. And it's turned out way better than I expected it to in all aspects. The racing's been amazing, the commentary's been amazing, the broadcast from Steve has been amazing. I can't say thank you enough to everybody that's been involved to make it as good as it is. I mean, I'm hoping that viewers are watching it and enjoying it as much as it's good to be taking part in it. It's definitely surpassed what I hoped it was going to be. Let's put it that way.
Brilliant to hear, Stephen, and potentially the chance of another championship.
Oh, I don't know. I'll have to check the shekels, mate. Yes, I would love to do another one. Obviously, that's down to sort of the drivers and what have you, and getting people involved again. But I think I'd need a week or two off before I start another one. Doing it on your own is quite a lot of work. So yeah, rest assured there will be another one. I just don't know when yet.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much, Steve, and thank you very much for the championship you put together, and also to all the drivers joining us here in the interview booth. Congratulations on your result this evening.
Cheers, Tim. Thanks, mate.
Well, there you have it, folks. I mean, I for one, I know we said it last week, and I've been pretty happy with the season number 2. It's been a fantastic first 4 races, and of course, still one to go back at Donington as well. Tim, fantastic work there from you, mate. There's one thing we forgot to ask, and it was about Steve's little person on the back of his car. We'll have to try and get that for at some point over the next week.
We will find out, David.
Exactly.
I will tattoo that on the back of my arm so that I don't forget.
But no, yeah, fantastic work from everyone. And yeah, any last thoughts from you?
I thought it was interesting to hear that Jensen was double booked, because you would have thought that any chance at a championship he'd be staying into the checkered flag to make sure he won it. But I think the main thing I take away from that is from Luca Burke. He's done a lot in the sim racing world, to put it simply, and to be counting this championship up with his other successes and to say, I value every title for what it is. That's really exciting to see. And David, your thoughts on really what happened with Ross, because he said he was he feels like he was lucky this evening. Do you think he had enough to take the fight to Jensen?
It's hard to say, isn't it? I mean, Jensen, like I say, was clearly very quick, and the double book thing was interesting to say the least. But obviously, we can't say exactly what happened there. But unfortunate for sure is the way I would describe it. He certainly had the pace, did Ross. He was obviously quick enough, and you could see how quick he was through qualifying and things like that as well. I think he definitely had a chance. Of course, back markers and things like that can pay any sort of change to the race. But whatever did happen, he dealt with it, and he did a fantastic job this evening, and thoroughly deserves his race win.
Well, thank you very much, David, for attempting to call that one with me. A very exciting event this evening at Snetterton. And thank you to all of those in the YouTube chat. We do notice you, and I apologise this evening if we've been unable to check your comments. I hope you understand with all the action taking place on track this evening. But return for the final event. Do please come back, like and subscribe to the stream you've watched this evening. On Monday night, the 22nd of March, we go racing for one final time in the Esports Designs Invitational Porsche Cayman Cup at Donington Park. From David Wressell, Steve Proudley, Broadcast Director here at SimSports Solutions, and myself, Tim Fulbrook, thank you very much for joining us this evening, and we'll see you next week.